young lady we had here today? Pamela? Oh, you were over at the, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, her, Janelle is her mom. Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll talk next time because I want to get prints of that speech that we had.
Yeah.
Fill up 3 things at the same time.
Let me chew this before we get started.
I'd like to welcome you to the Peoria Public School.
Can't hear you.
I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Education public meeting for August 22nd. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick. Mr. Kloss.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mrs. McConnell.
Here.
Dr. Ranking.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
President Ross.
Here.
We have 7 present.
Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me see your packet. I don't have it. See it. Let me get up. Okay, that roll call motion. I think we talked about the 2 schools on each side last time, Franklin and Liberty Leadership Middle School, and their excellent presentations. Next on the agenda are announcements. Mr. Wilson, do you have an announcement?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Ross. Progress reports grading period ends next Friday, September 2nd. Progress reports will be sent home the following Thursday, September 7th. Take the opportunity to celebrate your students' work and make a game plan to continue growing.
I'm gonna give it back to you. Okay. Ms. McConnell?
Labor Day, no school. In recognition of Labor Day, there will be no school on Monday, September 5th.
Okay, I have.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have 2 announcements to read. I'll read.
I was going to call
Mr.
Mr.
Klaus.
Tassi.
PTO council meeting. Our first PTO council meeting of the school year will be next Tuesday, August 30th at 6 p.m. in the district office, room PLC 1. Don't miss important updates and initiatives happening district-wide. Unlike previous years, all parents are welcome to attend the PTO council meetings. And then another announcement, physicals and immunization reminder. Reminder parents and guardians, students must fulfill their state-required physical and immunization requirements as soon as possible. Make an appointment with your healthcare provider or take advantage of the Unity Point in-school clinics at Peoria High School, Manual High School, and Tree Wind School. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rankin? Okay, Kamala, you have an announcement. You want to introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm Kamala Breedlove. I was born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. I am a senior at Mayo High School, and after high school, I plan to go to Clark Atlanta University to major in software engineering.
Wow,
That's
great.
awesome.
Thank you. Now you have an announcement.
Yes. This Wednesday, August 24th at 7 p.m. is the first series of virtual town halls. Parents and guardians of Tree Wind, Lincoln, and Manual students are welcome for a question and answer session with Superintendent Dr. Karat and other school leaders. Use the link tinyurl.com/townhall150 to join.
Thank you.
High school Wednesday early dismissal. Reminder to high school students and parents that students will be dismissed at 1:30 p.m. each Wednesday. High school bell schedules for Wednesdays and assembly days are posted on the school website.
Back to School Bash at Cartsville. Attention all PPS staff. This Friday, August the 26th, starting at 3 p.m., you can join your coworkers and their families for a fun evening of go-karts, mini golf, batting cages, and more. All PPS staff, certified and non-certified, are welcome. Fees for employees are covered by the Building Together, and admission for each guest has been reduced to $5. Check your email for more details and to sign up.
Thank you. SIP Day reminder. Reminder, next Wednesday, August 31st, will be the half day for students. Schools normally end at 2:30 will end at 10:30. Schools normally ending at 3:30 will end at 11:30. There is no school for Valeska Hinton students next Wednesday. Thank you. Awards and recognition. Mr. Boone, I think you're up next. PPS Crossing Guards. Where's the lady? The lady that had the flag. Where is she?
Good evening. We wanted to take this time to recognize a special group of individuals that show up and show out daily for our PPS students, our remarkable crossing guards. This team works extremely hard to ensure that all students make it to and from school safely. They do this in the heat, the cold, the rain, sideways rain, or the snow. They are always there. They're a pillar when it comes to safety and climate. These individuals many times are the first school staff that students interact with. Simply watching them high-five students on the way to school and giving them a good morning can boost a student's mood and start off to their day. They also can be the last adult staff member that they see. This proves vital to safety should a child not take a direct route home and there's a worried parent. Their relationship and knowing the children they serve daily is critical to the fabric of the Peoria Village. Many times when a crossing guard is out for an extended time, children and parents inquire about their crossing guard as if they were family. This team is truly remarkable, and we want to say thank you. And as a gesture and a recognition for their contribution, as I call your name as one of our crossing guards, please come up to receive a small token of our gratitude. Andrew Wallace. Matthew Baskin. Nicholas McClure. Gilbert Comer. Corethia Hamner. Her nickname is the General. Ain't nobody speeding past her. General Hamner. Edward Banks. Jerome Costick. It's one of the smoothest brothers I know. Charles Thomas. Daniel Morris. Carl Hill. James Fleming. My stepson, Percy Payton. One of my special friends, Mr. Michael Williams. And then another one who was her son was gonna pick up her award for her tonight, Tina Jackson. She passed away earlier this year, but she was wonderful to our team. These are our crossing guards. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is a privilege being a crossing guard. We go through a lot. We go to almost getting hit, killed, whatever, but we still out there for the kids. The crossing guard that we lost, she was dear. She was the world to me. And when it came down to getting those kids across, I never knew how hard a corner was until I worked it. I miss her because not only did we did one crossing together, we did two. I have a plaque that I would like. Someone donated it to me. All I need is somebody to put it down right where she's standing. I have kids every day. They ask me about her. All you guys sitting on the board, all I want to do is put this down in her remembrance. God bless you all and have a good evening.
Mike is off. Ms. Hammer, I'm sure that Director Boone will assist you in doing that, because everywhere I go, I see you, and you always ask me about it. So I'm sure that Director Boone will assist you in helping to get that plaque put down. Thank you very much, ma'am.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, so thank you for that. This thing is acting up. The district presentation, Lights On, Peoria update, and that is with Tawanda Webster, grant coordinator.
Good evening. I am Taguana Webster. I am the grant coordinator for Lights on Peoria. Lights on Peoria is a 5-year federally funded grant that we received in 2019, right before COVID. There are 8 objectives to this grant, and I'm just going to go over it quickly so that you all know it's not just the weekend program. Everyone sees that part, but there's so much more to this grant. So the first one is develop and implement academic supports, and we have done that in both Peoria High and in Manual. At Peoria High, we have Brett Heinlein, who is in the classroom, and he is supporting our students in math. What we were finding is that there were some gaps in their math and their learning, but the students that came to him this year, we reported that there was a 74% increase in these students passing their classes. Over at Manual, Susie Springman, she is our learning lab teacher at Manual High School. She helped 23 students that were seniors get their credits and the requirements to graduate this year. And she also came and helped those students get 169 credits so that they can be on track to graduate. The second objective is social emotional. We have partnered with Family Corps. So over at Peoria High, we have Daniel Ruffin, who is working at Family Corps and helping our students, pulling them out when there is a need for extra support, and also Stan Hagen over at Manual. In Objective 3 is the Justice Advocates. Dr. Booth, this is his baby. The Justice Advocates, they are assigned to students when they come into the court system. If there's something that happens with the law and they find themselves in JDC, there's a person that is assigned to them, and they make sure that they're meeting their requirements so that they can graduate. Or if it would be that they need to get a job, they'll also help them with the job as well. Objective 4 and 5 is about training implicit bias. We have been doing so much training with this grant, not just with the people that work under the grant, but also in the freshman academy. We've been working with Marzano Academy, working at the core subjects, trying to get competency-based education up and running, and we are implementing that right now, making sure we're not just passing students, but students actually learn the content that's in the classroom. We've also been doing things through Educators Leaders Network. We looked at Journey Through Racism. We took that class. We looked at A+ attendance. We also looked at building relationships. So there's constant ongoing professional development in Lights on Peoria. Our Objective 6 is the weekend program, which everyone sees. And you can go ahead, Ms. Michelle, if you don't mind advancing the slide, because there are some pictures that go along with this. In the weekend program, we offer it at Manual and Peoria High, and they're not on the same weekends. They're alternating weekends whenever there's not another school activity. We've done CPR over the last 3 years. We've taken the students to Six Flags. In the third picture, you see the performance arts teacher, Miss Rice. She opened up her classroom at night and had the kids come in and they did some dancing. And the last picture, that is Dr. Thomas Boo from NIU. He came in and did some band classes this summer and also the past summer for both Manual and in Peoria High. This grant is supposed to be supporting the whole school, not just academics, not just supporting our athletics, but also our social, emotional, everything that goes together. So that's objective number 6. You can go ahead and advance the slide, thank you. We also have success career coaches, and in Lights on Peoria, that would be Mr. Andrew Nichols and also Mr. Chris Daniels. The success career coaches work with students to give them an incentive to come to school. Some of those students that we know, sometimes they can't get out of bed. Sometimes they just don't have a reason. But what we do is we identify those students, find out a short-term goal, whether that be just coming to school every day, and then we incentivize them by helping them to find a job. And the job is meant to help them get exposure out in the real world with coaching. We don't just send them out there and say, hey, you're on your own. They walk them through, getting a job. They help them with the applications. They help them with the resumes. We've also done financial literacy and mentoring. So we also take them to career fairs. We did a career fair last year in December. We had a college fair in May. You see that we've taken them to Eureka. In the middle, we took them to Midwest University. So not just college, but also looking at those technical schools as well. The last objective for the grant is opioid prevention. While we were in COVID for the first 2 years, we met this objective through EverFi. However, this past year now that we've been in school, we've been working with the health teachers so that the health teachers can implement this learning objective in the classroom. As you see here, they take a 2-week time to talk about, lean, marijuana, any type of opioid, and that's the prevention that we've really been working with for Lights on Peoria. I do want to mention that we have volunteers that come in, and I did ask one of our volunteers, who was awesome, to come tonight. Her name is Meg Tomlin. She has been with us, excuse me, from the beginning. We also offered 27 Lights on weekend programs, and in those 27 weekend programs, we service 655 students in those activities with both sites. It is an amazing opportunity. If you or someone you know wants to get involved in Lights on Peoria, we are always welcoming volunteers to come in and surround our students with positivity. Also, we cannot buy food. That is something that the federal government does not allow us to buy, but we are having people donate to the Peoria Public Schools Foundation, and that's actually helping us make sure that our students, when they come in, they leave with a full belly, they have positive activities, and they're not finding themselves in trouble on the streets. Thank you very much.
Ms. Webster, is your volunteer here? Was she able to make it?
She is in class. She's getting her doctorate right now
okay.
in social and emotional, so she's come all these times. And Chief and I were going to recognize her tonight if she made it on time. But if she does, her name is Meg Tomlin, and she's awesome.
Is Director Boone also going to add to the presentation?
I have him down here.
Yeah, pretty much all I had to add was there are two very special people that really streamline this and help my headache big time, because there was a lot of sweat equity in the beginning. Taguana and I were doing a lot of hauling of stuff and putting together games and tearing stuff down. But really, Taguana Webster sets up everything, handles business. She don't let kids get out of line. She's definitely the mother there. And then also Dr. Susan Gerznich. Without her vision, this would not have been possible. I remember sitting in her office and like spitfiring this to her, and she just like, okay, packaged it up, and then next thing you know, there's a grant. The unfortunate thing about the jobs that we do with school safety and stuff, there is no stats for the number of lives you save. And I definitely wanted to extend this to Dr. Gerznich. There's no stats to the lives that she saved with the number of grants and all the innovation that she does and the hard work that her and Taguana do. So I'd actually got plaques for you guys. You guys didn't expect that. Because they don't want to be rewarded for anything. They just do. And that's the work. So Dr. G and Taguana, I got plaques for you guys. So. I'll come to you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the annual budget presentation. Mr. Willis and Ms. Eman.
And while she's coming down, the third member on our team is Jason Dwyer, Chief Accountant, who has been with us since June?
Yeah, June 1st.
Okay.
Our newest member. So, as Mick just said, here is our team, and we really welcome Jasa to the team, and we've really put together, I think, a good budget for the new year. the requirements for adopting the budget we need to put out there each year. The public notice, week of August 22nd, where we're at now. And then public display of the amended budget has to be for at least 30 days. The public hearing by the Board of Education then will be scheduled September 26th, and then the adoption would be the same day.
In terms of key changes compared to the prior year budget, evidence-based funding this year was up $3.4 million. Typically, that increases every year about $2.5 million or close. So it was up a little higher this year than it normally is. Corporate personal property replacement taxes, the estimates from the state are that revenue source will be up about $3 million this year, which will be a 7.5% increase. This is a revenue source that has some unpredictability to it. This year's increase was pretty unprecedented. We don't expect that'll continue to be reflected in our revenue base. EAV, or property values, this tax year will actually have about $18 million of TIFs come onto the tax rolls. About half of the money that generates will show up in our revenue this year, the other half next fiscal year because of the timing of the tax bills. To the operating budget, it's probably $225,000 additional in the operating budget. County school facility sales tax, that's trending at about $4.8 million, so we anticipate that to continue to come in, which most of which we use to pay off bonds. And then before I throw the grant changes to Carla, long-term debt, which is kind of connected to that county facility sales tax, is about $157 million. And some of the bonds we have are supported with that county sales tax money.
And then for the various grant changes, we'll be tightening that up over the next couple of weeks here, but it'll stay pretty steady because we have more than several multi-year grants, and so it just kind of, there's a carryover from the previous year, so it looks to be pretty steady, and so pretty high in that federal area still.
In terms of our operating budget, if you go all the way over to the right, on income, we're anticipating about $294 million coming in. On the expenditure side, we're estimating about $292.8 million. We anticipate revenue will exceed expenditures by a little over $1.8 million. And that is a recap of our operating budget. As you know, we have other funds that don't make up our day-to-day operating budget, and here they are. Many of those, we have a cash influx one year, and then in subsequent years, we draw that down. But the total revenue this year that we anticipate is $361 million total. Total expenditures, $358.7 million over the course of the whole year, over the course of all of our funds. And these charts just give you an idea about our revenue in terms of what primary sources are and kind of how it plays out. Major sources, of course, being property taxes, evidence-based funding, replacement taxes, and then various other sources kind of fill in the gap. And then on the spending side, you can see salaries and benefits make up majority of our costs, and then other categories just kind of fill in.
Dramatic pause is me. The budget will be posted on the district website and at the reception desk. And then again, September 26th will be the public hearing and board approval. Any questions?
Any questions? Any board members? Okay, no questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have a presentation. Dr. Rankin, the Parent Teacher Advisory Committee. Dr. Rankin, could we ask you to go to the podium, please?
Sure.
The high school dress code presentation. This is PowerPoint. Yeah.
So what I'll be presenting is more about the high school dress code from the Parent Teacher Advisory Committee that was the 21-2022 school year, so last school year. So this is coming over from that. So an overview today, I'm going to overview the survey results from the community. I'm going to overview some pieces of the overall policy and then provide recommendations that will be passed along to the policy committee to decide what's next. Before I start though, this is an email I received today actually. It was not asked for, but this student had obviously heard about the dress code, and this is an edited version. I've taken out things and it was a very long email, but I've decreased it some. But essentially this shows you the student voice. And I think I want to recognize this student who knows who they are, and I want to recognize that they felt moved enough and passionate enough about this to send something to a school board member. And so you can read it for yourself, but essentially this goes to show that while there are not many documented, as far as kind of the district's concerned, documented pieces of discipline around dress code, there are things that are happening every day, and there are things that are happening every day in our hallways, in our schools, that are impacting the students and how they're learning. And so essentially you can see that this student let me know that they are gender dysphoria and they are making their transition. They identify as non-binary trans femme, and they're making their transition in October. And in order to be able to present themselves to not be misidentified, there are some things that they wish to have as part of who they are in their building. And so you can see that the student also said, when I was confronted with this exact situation, it made me feel humiliated and ashamed of who I am. This was done in front of other students. I have worked a long time to be proud of my identity, and this has led me to feeling very insecure in a building where I should feel safe. But yet, and then at the bottom, but yet I've tried so they talked about their hair, how their hair is part of their identity. Putting it in a bun does not work, yet I still feel uncomfortable, so I'm hoping you can help, because I don't want to continue to get into trouble for being comfortable in my own skin. And so I just want to say that this is not just a race and ethnicity issue. This is not just a biological female and male issue, but it's also an issue for the LGBTQIA community. So there's lots of student demographics that potentially could be impacted and currently are impacted by the dress code that is currently in place. It's, again, not a policy for high school students, but it's a dress code that's in the student handbooks. While we are going to move forward with trying to make it a policy, this is what is currently guided by our district. So I wanted to just start with that because I think that's really important. The total amount of surveys that we got was 303, mostly from Richwoods, that's the green, and then Peoria High is the blue. Purple is Knoxville, red is other, and then the orange is manual. You're right, I'm just not catching up, hold on. So I'm gonna go through each part of the survey. Basically what I did is I took the policy and I broke it up into sections, and I just said, do you agree or disagree with this? And if you have comments, add those comments. I'll talk about those comments at the end. The blue and the orange are the agree and strongly disagree, or agree and strongly agree. So there is 88% who agree or strongly agree with this specific portion of the proposed dress code. Talking about a shirt, talking about pants and jeans, just kind of what must be worn as the basic principle of this part of the dress code that's being proposed by the PTAC committee. You go to the next one. The next one is, again, I asked, here's the next portion of the proposed document. And again, blue and orange are agree and strongly agree. So you can see strongly agree, we have 112, agree, we have 65, disagree and strongly disagree are 75. Mostly what people had an issue with, and I will show you the comments here in a minute, are bullet point number 2, wearing the hood over your head, and bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where it says tank tops, having it just say tank tops and taking off spaghetti straps and halter tops. So with the disagree and strongly disagree, those were. I saw nothing in the comments about leggings, nothing in the comments about athletic wear. There were a few comments about visible waistband and undergarments, but mostly it was about the spaghetti straps and halter tops, along with wearing the actual hoodies on your head. The next part, again, I just took literally, I copy and pasted it and said, do you agree or disagree with this portion? And it says students cannot wear. Again, blue and orange are the agree and strongly agree. So you can see that we have 88% overall that agree or strongly agree with this portion of the dress code, the proposed dress code policy. The next slide shows open responses that mostly said that they are for the dress code. I didn't take all of them. I just took piecings of them. So essentially, student comfort and an ability to be expressive in a respectful manner allows for better learning environments. Those who sexualize minors or students are who should be looked at with a disciplinary lens, not students who are appropriately expressive. Kids should wear what they want. Dress code language and enforcement is usually based on race and or gender. And then policing students' bodies, especially girls, causes more distraction than wearing a hoodie, crop top, or tank ever could. There was also open responses against. And you can see that this is evident of what I had said about that one response. People do not agree with wearing hoodies. You can see most of these talk about hoodies. There was a question about, or a statement that everyone should have uniforms, and some other people saying that it needs to be more strict, like uniforms. But most of the responses talked about hoodies and talked about the spaghetti straps or halter tops. And so with that, the final, good, yes, I forgot about this. So an overview, so the final piece of overview is that I wanted to point out this report or this study that NPR conducted. And basically it says regulations are more restrictive for women than for men. For many young girls, it seems that they are intended targets of dress codes with short skirts, halter tops, shoulder, midriff-bearing blouses, and other generally female-associated garments. So based on this, I went through and I looked at all of, so there was 303 people who did the survey. 160 of those people decided to write in comments. And of those, these are the number of times there was what research would say is sexualized language. Breast was used twice, underwear 17, talking about what girls, women, or female should or should not wear 11 times. Boys and female was brought up 3 times, midriff 7 times, shoulder 6 times, tank top 9, spaghetti strap 9, and halter top 23 times. So of that, if I take out the underwear, because the underwear could be for male individuals who present as male or female, 63% of the comments focused on the female body, and only 1.8% of the comments referred to men and boys. Neither here nor there, I'm just stating the facts that were presented in the survey. So then the final question is overall, do you agree with updating the high school dress code? 68% said agree or strongly agree, with the green and red as disagree or strongly disagree. So then our recommendations will be to pass this policy along to the newly formed. So board members were just assigned between last meeting and this meeting to our committees. So I will pass on this policy to the policy committee to decide to do with it what they want. But the edit that is going to be provided is that based on both board feedback, who have contacted me specifically about feedback that they had, and with the feedback that was received from the community who participated in the survey, we're going to say you can wear hooded sweatshirts, but you can't wear them on your head, to take that out, and that we will take out the spaghetti straps and halter tops, but that we will leave in tank tops. So if you want to see the draft that I'm passing along to the policy committee for their work, you can find it at this bit.ly. And I did it backwards, but it's PDS 150 HS draft. And if you've never used a bit.ly before, it is case sensitive. And so that is everything that I'm presenting today on the high school dress code.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions of Dr. Rankin before she leaves? Okay. Thank you. We will be adding that. It's already been sent to the policy committee, and this information, along with the information that we got from teachers and administrators and other entities that did not get a chance to participate, will be passed on to the policy committee. Okay, next on the agenda is the presentation by audience. I want to see if I can get to my information here. Here we go. These things die after a while. So I want to say that board policy 2:230 is what we quote, and an individual may address the board at this time for no more than 5 minutes, with further time allotted as appropriate at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Total time on any one subject shall not exceed 20 minutes. Only the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Each speaker will fill out cards and will be able to speak, as I said, for 5 minutes. We ask you to keep your comments within respect of other people. And the first person on this list is Terry Knapp, Mr. Terry Knapp.
I'd like to make an observation. I think I heard somebody say that the children needed to get vaccines or whatever. Hopefully those aren't vaccines dealing with COVID. I think it's been proven, and I approached my nurse from the supplement that I get for my Medicare, and she came to my house to give me some treatment or look at me, and I asked her, the first question I asked her was, how many people have died from taking the vaccine? Does anybody know that? And the answer is no, because the government hasn't put it out. The CDC has intentionally hid this. Thousands have died from taking the vaccine, thousands. I will attempt to lodge a FOIA with you people, because you should know that. Anybody know it, so I don't have to put in the FOIA? You can just give me the information. I'm sure your lawyer knows it. Do you not? I know you don't answer anything. So anyway, I'll put in a FOIA. I want to know how many have died from taking the vaccine. No one has announced that. The federal government hides it. Do you understand that? They hide it. They didn't tell you that the mask didn't work. When I produced documentation, the cloth mask does not work. Hopefully you're not going to put kids in masks. They can wear them if they want to, but they should be told that they're not being protected by viruses entering or not entering. So hopefully you're not going to make people take the vaccine. Next thing I'd like to mention, the last meeting I was here, and I thought the young lady that presented to the board was asked to come back to the podium when Ms. Reinking was talking about dress code, was treated egregiously. Ms. Ross, I think you owe her an apology if you ever get a chance to talk to her. Ms. Reinking, I thought you did a great job. The thing I want to warn you about, and your attorney should have already reminded you about this, we had a gentleman, a student back in the 70s that had long hair. His dad was a professor at Bradley. He was expelled from school because the superintendent thought he should have shorter hair. And the father, who was a Bradley professor, filed a lawsuit, and the young man, I think, won $1 million. The government said you can't tell a kid what to do with his hair. So I hope you're not going in the hair direction. The other concept, I was a teacher, and there was a period of time when the students couldn't wear shorts. All year long, could not wear shorts, and the school board had that as a policy. I had a young lady come to my class, had shorts on. I said, you got to go home to take your final. She had 3 C's and was going to take the final. All she had to do was show up and put her name on the final. She would not go home and change her shorts. She failed the final because she wouldn't change her shorts to whatever, I don't know. But the school district tried to jam that down everybody's throat, and that didn't work either. And I think Ms. St. Louis made some observations that I kind of heard, that you better watch out what you put in writing, and you better be ready to enforce it, and your lawyer should take the lead in this. Every year you should review your dress code. If you're going to have a dress code, have a dress code. You guys had a deal where students couldn't go during their sports season. Varsity participants could not go on a vacation. We had that rule broken several times. I was a baseball coach. We enforced it. Other kids in other schools were going around, and they were going on vacation. But it was a school board policy that you not go on vacation during your sports season. Better fewer rules than too many rules, is what I'm saying. So you better research them and research them well. I told you the story about the young lady from Woodruff 11 years ago. Lathan was here, and you had this discussion. You put all the kids in shorts, and Miss Ross has obviously forgotten this, and Miss Lathan said, basically, we don't have to put the kids, we don't have to worry about the high school kids. I'll go to the schools and I'll tell them, if they don't pull up their pants and they don't cover up their breasts, then I'll put them in uniforms. She was here, never went to uniforms. That's the last conversation about dress code. Ms. Ross, you need to look that up.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Appreciate your time. Mr. Dan Walther.
Good evening. My name is Dan Walther. I've got a couple of topics I wanted to touch on. The first one was basically in support of the teachers who are here, who are in a contract dispute with this board. One of the things I wanted to bring up was about 6 weeks ago when I was running for the school board. I went to the city council and I had asked them for some information, which I haven't gotten yet. But my good friend, Mr. Knapp here, has brought up repeatedly about how the city of Peoria has gotten millions of dollars from the riverboat. And because we are a home rule district, they can share that money with us. And to this date, I think the grand total is?
0.
That's right. The reason I went to them is there are 2 new sources of income that have come in. Marijuana. And they have not released the amount of money for that because there's only one marijuana store in the city of Peoria. I am glad that the the income tax that we get, that half cent from the marijuana goes to us, but we don't know how much money there is from that. The other one is gambling. Gambling in Illinois is huge, and we're paying for that. I also believe, because under the home rule auspices, that, and I've asked if the board has met with the city to discuss this, and they said you haven't yet. I would encourage you to do that, because that's other funding that may be available for both the teachers and the whole school district. Safety, I emailed this board and the superintendent my concerns about not having armed SROs in the building. We have an opportunity to have a much more safe environment in our schools. I want to thank Mr. Murphy for getting back to me. He was the only board member that did do that. I do want to pose that question, that do you really think that Keller and other schools in District 3 don't want the most protection that they can have? I think the parents at Sandy Hook and Uvalde in Texas would greatly have appreciated having the SROs that we have, which I feel are one of the best in the country. There was an incident about a week ago at a school, which I will not name. A student claimed to have brought a gun to school. And the day before that, he had put on the social media that he was going to shoot up the school. He was going to come to school and shoot it up. One of his friends asked him, "Are you really going to do that?" He said, "Yes, I brought the gun and it's in my friend's locker." Fortunately, he didn't bring the gun. The administration at school reacted properly, called the police. We went into a hard lockdown. So any of you who haven't been in a hard lockdown, what you do is you shut the door, you lock the door, all the kids get in one corner of the room. I fortunately was with a teacher, and we had a 2-inch thick door, similar, maybe a little heavier than the doors we have in here. But unfortunately, about 3/4 of the doors in that building have 6-pane glass windows, in which we replaced the bottom 4 with 16th-inch plywood. It is incredibly easy just to get in. All you have to do is tap on that wood or that thing, and you're in that door. You unlock the door. You've only got one entrance in and out of most of the rooms in that building. So if that person had a handgun, pops the door, it gets in there, you've got the kids all at a corner, just open up on them, just like what happened in Texas. The other thing that's a problem is we don't have any communication from the office because we don't have a phone in our room. So there wasn't a communication there. My teacher was one of a handful that had a walkie-talkie, but we didn't have a phone. Plus, we tried to use our cell phones. We couldn't get out. The walls are so thick on the outside, and with that, we couldn't call out. We were trying to call for some other people for some help. We couldn't do that. So now, you understand, got 2 teachers and 18 kids in a room, so we looked at, well, maybe we can get out the windows. Well, you guys have done a good job of putting up things in the windows. So the windows open 2.5 inches. So in that school, all you've got is one entrance and most of the rooms going in and out. So had this student, hypothetically, or another person gotten in the building and started shooting people up, we could have tracked him by the cameras, right? No. The only camera in that building was at the front of the school. That was it. So this person could have run amok through the whole school shooting, and we had no idea of tracking and doing with that. The reason I'm bringing this up, and then we said, well, we've got our SRO. He could have stopped him. No, our SRO is unarmed. He couldn't have stopped him. He'd have just been another target. And when we were here last week, and just when I was finishing talking, the police chief said, we will not do what they did in Umley. And I know the chief here, we've got people here that said that they would literally charge the person who had the gun. We can't send people into certain suicide by doing that. So if we don't get, I will stop, if we don't get some help from this board and stuff with it, if there's an incident in this school, that blood is on your hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. Mr. Demetrius Randall.
Good evening, everyone. I stand here to talk with you. First, I want to thank Dr. Karat and Martha Ross for continuing the PTAC committee. The engagement with parents started years ago under Dr. Strand. He had a task force on suspensions and expulsions of students, and I just want to commend you for continuing the avenue for parents to be engaged. As someone who was a member of the PTAC committee, when the dress code was done, I want to tell you that there was a dress code that was done, and it was done because there were so many referrals for dress code violations at the schools, and I happened to be at a high school, middle school, and at a primary school. And so at the high schools, there were lots of referrals for dress code violations. And those dress code violations prompted us as the PTAC committee to look at, do we want to have a dress code policy, or do we want to go to uniforms? And uniforms was not something that students wanted nor parents wanted. And in looking at that, we decided that let's have the dress code policy. Let's look at ways to implement it in a fair way. I can tell you that the people on that committee are probably upset that you are saying that they were biased in establishing that policy. People like Gene Petty, myself, people from churches, people from businesses. And you need to, I think, keep the policy in place. And this is why. Because students will always rise to the occasion. They will rise to the expectations that you have. Sure, you're going to always have a few who want to do their own thing. And it's not a me thing, it needs to be a we thing. And most of your students, that from my experience, follow the dress code policy. If you present it and let them see what the expectations are, and we mentioned that there are some ways that they could do that. At orientations, they could have some role playing. This is what's accepted. This is what's not accepted with students. And then you get buy-in. There are posters that could be posted, like at Knoxville Center. When they come in at orientation, the parents and the students see what the expectations are. This is allowed, this is not allowed. They sign off that they will follow the expectations. Great success with them following the expectations. It's not racially biased, because I've seen students who were white with sagging pants, and I've seen students who were black with sagging pants. So it's not a racially biased policy. It's a policy that is preparing our students for their next steps. I know people who work in human resources, for businesses and organizations, who indicate that the one thing that they're seeing is that young people, when they come in for interviews, do not dress appropriately. And if we're talking about black students, minority students, getting a head up and getting into work, if a student comes in and all things equal, two candidates, the one who's dressed appropriately is going to be the one that gets the job. If one is not dressed appropriately, the one who's dressed appropriately is going to get the job. It's very simple, very simple. An example of students who, when you say that they are missing class, that's, in my experience, because the student does not want to comply. And if the student complies, can I request a little bit more time to finish?
Pleasure of the board. Well, they didn't request it. Consensus of the board. Ms. Costick.
Example, if I referee college and high school basketball.
Just a second, Ms. Costick. Well, I'm saying nobody else asked for extra time. That's what we're looking at, so it doesn't matter.
Only need a couple more minutes.
I'm with giving them some time.
Miss Harris.
Y'all wasting time.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Randall.
Okay, all right. Remember, your brand is going to be if you are preparing students for success or you're allowing them to
Thank
veer
you.
away from the expectations that our community wants to see.
Mrs. Nicole Larson. That's all right, nobody else requests.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Larson. I am a first grade teacher at Keller School. I'm also a parent of a first and third grader, also at Keller School. Recently, I attended my school's PTO meeting where another parent asked about IXL and why we no longer had it. I, of course, knew that we no longer had IXL back in July and the reason for us not having it. Let's just say parents weren't exactly thrilled to find out that our school would no longer be using it. They liked it, their children liked it, and all 16 teachers at my school loved it. But we were told with the new math program, IXL was no longer needed. When asked about IXL language arts, we were told it just didn't fit the workshop approach of our reading curriculum. And I will tell you, this is far from true. I already had this conversation with Mr. Murphy, but you also need to hear it too. In fact, IXL fits perfectly with our Journeys curriculum, so much so that I know specifically which skills to assign my students that go along with the lessons we are working on for the week. It also did the same with Engage New York, so everything flowed. I was able to have small groups of students working on the same skill, or I could do whole group work using the group jam feature. It provides countless skills for students at all academic levels that a teacher doesn't have to spend hours creating. So if I have a child who's first grade but performing academically at a kindergarten level, I could assign them kindergarten level skills, just as if I have a child who's performing at a second, third, and fourth grade level, I could also do the same. So it's an enrichment tool as well. There are many more benefits to the program than I have time really to share with you today. I could go on because I love the program so much. I've used it for about 10 years when it was just a math program, and now it has exploded into more than just math. My school may be very lucky in the fact that we could potentially be getting it, but I'm not just here for that. And I was originally going to speak on that if I didn't hear whether or not we could get it, because we were told the district would not be supporting any teacher or any school that tried to purchase it. So I'm here for those schools that may not have been told that they could get it. Like I said, potentially we could be getting it at our school, but it has come down to a vote. But will other schools have that same option? Will they have to pay for it out of their pocket, or will the district help fund it? I know in your agenda from, I think, June 13th, it was very confusing because it did say you guys actually purchased it for all K through 8 students. And then down at the very bottom, it said it was only for 4,000 5th through 8 students. The wording was very misleading, and I think that's why some of us thought we were getting it, but apparently we're not. If teachers know that programs work for their children, why not poll individual schools to find out what their needs are instead of making everything the same across the district? I know towards the end of the school year, we were given a survey as teachers, what programs we liked, what we didn't like, what we wanted to see back. And I know IXL was, at least at my school, was on there as one of the top programs to keep. Our district is not a one-size-fits-all, and not every program that you decide to purchase is necessary for all students. Waterford would be one of them. Every kindergarten child is supposed to be put on Waterford, but Waterford is, according to your agenda, is used as a tier 2 and 3 intervention program. And there are children in kindergarten that are testing on NWA in the above the 40th percentile, and you're making them do Waterford. So if you truly want to know what works and what doesn't, then you ask the teachers at each of the schools. And yes, you're going to get varied responses, which is okay because we are all so diverse. And parents, please speak up for your children. I'm a parent, like I said, of 2 children at my school. and speak up for the teachers who teach them, and stand with them when they believe in programs that work, and make your voices heard, as more often time our voices as teachers are not. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Caitlin Hale.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Hale, and this is my 5th year teaching music at Dr. Made Sanders Primary School. I really, really love Peoria Public Schools. Just want to throw that out there. I was a student at Whittier when Dr. Karat was the principal, and I had a great education. I was so excited and proud when I was hired on to be a teacher for this district. But unfortunately, I'm not here to reminisce on the good memories today. I ask you to listen to what I have to say without judgment. I am more than likely going to say many things that you don't want to hear, and we all have to be okay with that. I'm not looking for immediate answers that act as a Band-Aid placed on in good faith or to cover something up that needs more attention. What I need you to do is listen, take time to think about what I am saying, and help us figure out how to fix what is broken. We need help. We are struggling at my school. It is so hard getting through these days because of the extreme behaviors with which teachers and staff are dealing. Every year we've had students with behavior issues, but this year it has gone up exponentially. We do not have enough people to help with all of these kids. There are students running out of their classes, disrupting class with inappropriate words and gestures, fighting, bullying, and the list could go on and on. Teachers are being told to keep students in their classrooms when the disruptions derail learning. Our administrators and support staff would be there in a heartbeat, but there are too many fires around the building and not enough staff. We need help. It doesn't help that positions were taken away from our building. Instead of a full-time social worker, we now have a part-time social worker. Our art teacher is split between 2 buildings, even though some of our class sizes are huge and should be split. The behaviors are so severe that cramming 25+ students in the same room is not wise. In fact, it is not safe at all. We need help. Our building is so short-staffed that even lunch recess isn't safe. It's not uncommon for one adult to be outside supervising an entire grade level on their own. I'm regularly out there with kindergartners by myself. We have several students who run in our kindergarten class as well. And today, thank goodness for a parent advocate who normally is pulled to help address behaviors throughout the rest of the building. Thank goodness he was out there with me today, because while I was lining students up, he noticed that one of our friends had gone out by the forest in Schmoger Park. Had he not seen that child, the child could have gone missing. He mentioned that there are 3 people who were in the forest back there, and it looks like they're living there, so who knows what could have happened. I would be blamed for losing the child despite being in charge of supervising over 80 other young lives. We need help. Our teachers don't feel safe, whether it be their own personal safety or for the safety of their classrooms. How do our students feel if teachers don't feel safe? We are tired of being hit, kicked, and bitten by students just to see them return into our classrooms the next day. We are tired of feeling anxious when transitioning our students, wondering what's going to happen to disrupt the transition and create an altercation between students. We are tired of calling for assistance when there is a situation in our classrooms and no one is coming to help to restore the order and help keep our students safe. We need help. This is no fault of our current administration. They are doing what they can. It's simply too much for them, even with the staff that are out and able to help support them. They should not feel like they have to call 911 because an angry parent barges through the back door during dismissal and threatens office staff. And this did happen just last week, by the way. They should not feel like they are drowning in student behaviors that continually repeat themselves. They should be running a school, not attempting to put out fires around every corner. We need help. I need help with my papers. So please, we need a regular SRO. We need additional staff to help support our students' high needs. We need a crossing guard to help with the busy Forest Hill Avenue. We don't have any of that. And at the very least, please give us back our art teacher. We want to have her full-time. It'll help so much with scheduling. It'll help with supervisory issues. And I know that it's not an immediate fix. I know that it won't fix everything, but that would be a start. Help us make our school feel safe again. If you can't do this, we're going to have more teachers leave for jobs that are safer. We cannot continue doing what we're doing right now. We need help. I could continue speaking on what's happening within our school, but I'd exceed the time limit. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm available through the district email. I believe my name is on that paper if you need to contact me again. And I would love to see, not just hear, solutions to fixing the safety concerns at my school. Help us now so we don't lose more teachers later. I have to go prepare for an absence. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Miss Marybeth Cunningham.
Whoever just spoke, it's amazing the parallels between your school and my kid's school right now. And I've heard of the Keller teacher before, prior to coming here. I've never met her before, so nice to meet you. You're amazing. It's like I wish someone would have emailed about this exact class crowding issue in April last year. I wish I hadn't been dismissed in May and August of this year. You think I am annoying when I'm not talking about my own child. I expressed Jeff, who I've known my whole life, Dan Walther, who I've known my whole life. This will be the first time you see me cry. I've cried on the phone to Dr. Wood about my own kids, but I've never cried in front of them. This is terrible. I'm gathering my composure. I watched the cabinet of our superintendent, so the cabinet completely set our schools on fire. My daughter has a physical and health risk because of the class size at her school. I was made aware that her class size would be the way it was in March of last year. The number of 504 violations that are happening simply because, in IEP, IDEA, violations that are happening simply because teachers don't have 72 eyeballs. They cannot attend to every single inclusion child's needs in a 26 or 27. It is now 26, only 26. You watch 26 second graders, one who has a communication device, one who needs a one-on-one. Thankfully, that's there. 2 with mobility concerns, and a ton of kids who are not even close to grade level. Traumatized kids, kids with food insecurity. That's not only 26 kids. I have 3 kids, and I think I'm a pretty dang good mom. That's enough for me. This is dire. It's not just Maud. It's not just Roosevelt. It's not just CT. It's not just Keller. It is Northmore. It is all the primary schools, and I have been emailing about it. I did a FOIA request. I've done 2. FOIA request got a 5-day extension. That expired today. I've got nothing. So hopefully by 11:59 p.m. I have all of it. About class sizes and expected enrollment at each school, K through 4. Because you knew you were doing it. You didn't post positions. It's not the teacher shortage. I was watching for the posted positions for months. I'm not new here, you guys. I'm usually really, really nice. I spend hundreds of dollars a week on my daughter to keep her safe, to keep her joints from dislocating anytime she takes a little bit of a spill, because that's what happens to her. My daughter can barely breathe on a good day. She didn't come to school for the first 2 weeks last year because she wasn't medically released. This is a kid that is mine, and you are messing with her, and you're messing a lot of kids like her because you don't have a kid in that class. It's your school, Mr. Murphy. It's happening. Your kids will be affected whether you like it or not, because it doesn't matter who it is, your kids will be affected. And I'm not just saying you've got kids. It's gonna happen. It started off with no nurses on top of it all. I was glad to see some nurses were hired. Hopefully we can keep them for the pennies that we pay them to the dollar that they could make pretty much anywhere else. We need our schools to be safe and healthy. And I've gotten a lot of OCR violation requests for me to help with because of these classroom sizes. Don't ever dismiss a parent with medical complex kids.
Thank you. Is there any response to audience presentation? Dr. Karat?
Thank you, President Ross. Wanted to, number one, thank Mr. Knapp for always providing us with additional things to think about. He talked specifically about vaccines. I don't know of anyone but I may not know everything, Mr. Knapp, but that was an interesting question. Mr. Walther, hey, is Director Boone still here? If the board doesn't mind, I would like us to use this as an opportunity to also educate our families. President Ross, is that okay? I'm going to ask Director Boone to come to the podium and just talk about the difference between, because I heard some things about the hard lockdown that was a little concerning to me, and I would like you to share with the public what that entails. What does specifically he mentioned, we know the school and we know the situation, so just share with the public what does that mean. He said they were in a corner. So can you talk about when you do the training, you and Captain Gould, when you train teachers and administrators during your threat assessment, what does that training entail?
Right. So we do the active assailant training, and we train for run, hide, fight. But everything is fluid, like we said. So the incident that happened at that specific school, we gathered that information. While we were getting the information, the school was placed on a lockdown. Had there been any more serious information or anything that happened after that, we would have moved to another step. But in that situation, the school made the right call. It was actually a textbook lockdown because it was actually student-led. So when students reported this incident to the officer, that's a good thing. That shows that there's good climate. And those students didn't even wait to report this, in secret. They reported this in the middle of a crowded lunchroom to their SRO, which prompted him to make steps for the lockdown, which he contacted us, and then we made the necessary steps to make sure there was not a firearm in that building or the student had access to a firearm. And we are actually going step by step for those building safety concerns, doors, windows, those one-on-ones that we did that Dr. Karat led for us to do over the summer. Those are things we hit on, and we met with technology and buildings and grounds to address those issues.
So that was the one where a kid
Had a firearm
Right.
in his locker. So that's why we locked the school down, searched the student, searched the locker, worked with PPD, searched the home, make sure there was no access to firearms or anything like that to rule it out. And then we did an investigation and found out that the post was made roughly a week or so ago, and it wasn't a post directing at the school, but a post about something that happened on the street. But of course, we take every threat seriously, so we followed through and made sure that the school was safe before we released the lockdown.
So can we review with the administration the experience to see if there's anything that could be improved based on?
Absolutely. But their lockdown, what they did at that building was textbook. It's exactly what I want to happen. I would take 1 million false reports and miss a real one, then miss one real one. So.
Thank you. And then we heard about the IXL.
Are you done? Are you done with him?
Yes, I told him thank you.
You have something?
Oh, okay. So.
You wanted to-
Yeah, absolutely, sure. So I didn't realize that. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Just really quick, 2 questions for you, Chief. So they were following the proper protocol by going in the corner. Then at that point, whenever Dan or Mr. Walther and the teacher, they moved the kids into the corner, okay, in the room. So if we do in fact have doors that have 6-pane glass areas and the wood is just blocking those, where someone could very easily just kick those in, we need to address those doors immediately for safety. I would think that if that's the protocol, if you're putting everybody into a room, into a corner, then locking the door, but the wood can just be knocked out and reached in and unlock the door, then, that would be devastating, I would think. So if we can figure out how many of those doors we have that need to be attended to. My other question is, and when I did reply to Mr. Walther about this, I said I wanted more information. I wanted to know more about this when we were talking about during these procedures and having more armed SRO officers. In your opinion, do you feel like arming SRO officers at more schools is necessary?
I would think that's an offline question. I do have.
And that's fine, and we can talk about that offline. I'm just curious because people want to know from responses from community members and your school board. I'm just curious what the people who would actually be the ones going through that training. So that's something that we can talk about offline. That's fine. Thank you. That's all I have.
And then just quickly, thank you.
You done with him?
I'm done with you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Caitlin at Maud Sanders. Dr. Wood, you're here, and we've done a lot at Maud. So I'm going to put you. I would like you to come to the podium because I think our board needs to hear what we have been doing. I will say our teachers came back August 1st and 2nd. Our kids came back on the 3rd. And it has been one of the best starts that we have seen in many, many years. The administrators are doing a nice job. We're a PPS, we're a public school, and we just lost, we have families with some serious issues and challenges. And we are all working together to help, and we're working very, very hard. Some schools are easier than others. So tonight you heard about three comments, but I would say there are thousands and thousands of comments where individuals are having exceptional experiences at PPS. And I know Dr. Wood, you and Dr. Bond, and actually the entire team, we have wrapped our arms around Maud, and we've done quite a bit. Actually, when was it? Last week, there were 9 one-on-ones assigned to Maud.
Yep.
Maud has a full-time counselor.
Yes.
The only primary school with a full-time counselor. I
Yes.
didn't hear about that tonight.
No.
So today we huddled, and today we had another meeting. Twice we had a meeting today with the team, and we talked about Maud, specifically asking what more we can do to assist, knowing that the work is not easy, knowing that some of our kids need a lot of supports.
Right.
And I know you have spent all of last week there. I was happy to hear about parent advocates because that's a group of 35 parents we added to assist schools, right?
Yes.
So I teed it up for you. Let's share with the board and the public who's listening. And you have 2 administrators who are excited about the challenge,
Yes.
and they're new. Actually, they're 2. Then there's another retired principal, Mrs. Wiggers.
Yes.
That's there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And we knew that this year would be challenging at Maud, which is why, as Dr. Crott was talking about some of the extra supports that were put in place, specifically a retired administrator to be there who was there last year supporting as well. We have her there helping with our 2 new administrators who are doing a really spectacular job. They do need more help at Maud. We are going to work on that piece as well. I would love it if we could get an SRO there as well. It is a busy area, and they do have a lot of kids who are running. So we're trying to put plans in place. Dr. Bond has been really instrumental, and the folks at Rise Academy. I don't have the count off the top of my head, but there are a number of students who are going to be in a different placement that is better suited for them. They're at Rise in order to help them become more successful. So that is just, those transitions are just starting to happen here this week. A lot of students starting, and a few more will be starting over there as well. So we are trying to address this one student at a time, trying to get them the supports that they need. We were lacking with some of our one-on-ones and had gotten a bunch more hired and sent right over Dr. Crott asked that they all be sent right over there to Maud, and that was also very helpful. So, yeah, we are all hands on deck trying to support the school. There are some behaviors that need to be unlearned from some of the children that have been going on for a little while. So that's something we're working on. It's going to take a little bit of time.
And what I would recommend is, in the classroom, our strategic plan, we have a new vision, reimagining our work, 5 strategies. Strategy 2 is embedding social and emotional learning in everything that we do. And some of the kids will really need some intentional lessons on that as well.
Yes.
We just have,
Yeah.
some kids that are in need of some extra help, and it's all hands on deck. We cannot throw them away. Actually, you and Dr. Bond visited homes. We had conversations with Director Boone, Dr. Booth, where home visits were made. I spoke with parents as well, so that we can, talking about getting the best placement for those children. So there's been a lot of work around helping, and a ton of supports. We talked about even providing an additional long-term sub as well to assist. How many kids did you get transferred to Rise Academy,
Yeah,
for
I
example?
was trying to think off the top of my head.
About
That's what I was
9?
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the responsive classroom reset. So
Yes.
the whole staff did go through and sign on for responsive classroom. They're very excited about that, and they're doing a really great job with that. So the whole staff was trained in responsive classroom. That training will be ongoing. We kind of front-loaded at the beginning of the year, but it will be ongoing throughout the year. There's been a big push for establishing the morning meeting in every classroom and just really taking that time to build the relationships with the students and build the culture in that building. So the teachers are working hard on that piece as well.
I was just shocked about hearing with all of the supports that's being pumped in. So I just really wanted the board and the public to hear that. When we hear those things, and we look at the data, we don't even wait for people to ask. We take it on our own to say, okay, what's going on? Let's go down there. I visited Maud several times.
Yeah.
So I was just shocked tonight,
Yeah.
knowing
all that we're doing.
all
Yes.
that we're doing.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Go ahead.
So we are 3 weeks in to the school year, and I think it's just for us to be patient with ourselves. It's a brand new calendar. It's a new adjustment. It's a mental adjustment. The first 2 weeks to hear other people not in school and still having summer break. So I think I would be curious to see how things are come mid-October before we go into our fall break. And then secondly, does Maude Sanders have a community partner that has adopted the school, and does your community partner help?
Yes, it's funny that you said both things. We talked about what you said. Let's continue to monitor and see what happens over time. And actually, one of the teachers, the librarian, when I was there, she spoke to me, and then she followed up with an email. Her husband is a pastor of a church. I forgot the name. She sent it to us. We connected her with the Adopt-a-School, Cindy Morris, and Miss Ham, who's over the Adopt-a-School program, to go through that process. And in addition to that, I know they have some other Adopt-a-School partners as well. But Dr. Wood, I'll turn that over to you. So there is a church that's also going to adopt them, and it's a staff member that
Yeah, it's
recommended.
Nurse Jen. She's really fantastic. I think it's the church there on University Street up closer to Northmore, and I'm blanking on the name, but they're going to go ahead and get that partnership up and going. So, yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
they're sending the best kids that they have, and then we have to serve them the best way that we can, and work collaboratively, to figure out the best fits and the best supports, and not give up on the kids.
Absolutely.
We're making progress.
Okay,
It's
thank
just
you.
going to take some time, for sure.
Any other,
That's it, President Ross. Thank you for being patient with me regarding
Okay,
just
Dr.
spending a
Rankin
little bit
has
more time.
something.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Crott, can you respond, or maybe Dr. Wood, to the IXL discussion that was brought up?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Dr. Wood. I'll start off. You know, there is a process, the curriculum team went through a process, and I think Ms. Larson talked about the survey as well. And so it was decided that the district would not, based on interest, and you can pick it up from there. And I had a conversation. I know there was a PTO meeting, and I was a principal at one of the schools. I had a very, very strong PTO. Every year they gave me $12,000. They air conditioned my building in 2000, 4 or 5. And if there were any extra things that we wanted to do that the district was not able to do for us, my PTO just jumped in. So I had a conversation with a couple of people who attended the PTO and said, hey, some of the teachers wanted, PTO is willing to. So I said, sure. I mean, I remember when I was in that position, and if district said we can't, we're not doing this because this is the direction, my PTO helped, and we just kept going, and that is what was agreed upon. So I'm not sure. So Keller's PTO, it's my understanding, will support that piece for them. We had that conversation, so I'm not sure what that was all about. But what was the process? And then the other thing I heard also was Waterford. I know Waterford, you can accelerate, but if you are over 40th percentile, it's.
Well, Waterford goes up until second grade. So, typically, yes, it's used as a tier 2 intervention for our students who are below the 40th percentile. But we were able to give it to all of our kindergartners because we knew it would accelerate them. And so actually the kindergarten teachers last year, at first we started with, we're just going to wait and just give it to tier 2. And the kindergarten teachers were the ones that asked for Waterford because they were trying to do small group intervention with their students, and they needed and wanted that online support piece, something that their students could do that was at their level. It's designed for pre-K through second grade. But it does take them up to fluent reading, so if they are accelerated, they can work at a higher level. First and second graders, yes, they use Waterford. As far as IXL goes, so I think there's been a very deliberate bit of work done in order to create our literacy framework and to get the district focused in on the pieces of our curriculum that are really the high levers. And so that's what we've been training our teachers around, is what pieces of the Journeys curriculum are the high levers, and then we're going to spend our other time in guided reading workshop time. And so the training around those two pieces, with the other human intervention being our LLI, and then our online interventions being Lexia and Waterford for reading, and then Dreambox for math. Also, the other online piece is our new math curriculum, iReady, which not everyone's been trained in the online side of that yet, but it does the exact same thing that IXL does. There's two sides to it, and it mirrors exactly what IXL does. So the decision was made not to have everyone overloaded with so many resources, but to focus in on the right resources so that we can use them with integrity, really. Yes.
So just to follow up with that, so I know that teachers were surveyed. I think that from what I am understanding, maybe they thought that these programs were going to be brought in to work in conjunction with and still have access to IXL. So I think whenever they were talking about the programs that they were going to be voting on, they thought that they were still going to be getting IXL. And I know what they're talking about on that consent agenda, because it did say purchases for licenses. I think it says K through 8, not just 5 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think that miscommunication, or just not clear understanding of where that came. So it kind of blinded some teachers whenever that happened.
Yeah.
I would maybe just make the recommendation, because we know that our teachers are really, really smart too, right? Like they're in there learning these programs and they're saying, okay, this is not doing this for me. So maybe if there was a way to have a forum so that you guys could have that open dialogue and say, hey, this is not working for me. Show me how this is going to be just as comparable to IXL or better. You know what I mean? And really kind of sell it to them, because I know that there are a lot of teachers who are struggling with putting all of these things together, and it's new, and I get that too, but like at the end of the day, we want what's best for them to be able to teach our kids, because I get it, because I have kids and they're at different levels, same grades, different levels of where they're at in there, so I know that it's important for them to be able to tweak how they're teaching, so that'd just be my suggestion, but thank you.
Yes, yes.
So I just want to ask one follow-up. So Dr. Crott, from what I hear you say, we do not have to vote if the PTO decides to buy IXL for Keller. They can just buy IXL and they can use it. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that was my understanding. Okay.
Get it. She said she's familiar with it. It's working for her. You know, she's used it for 10 years. We have nothing to lose. It's additional supports. We talked about that last week. I gave them the green light.
Any other comments? Okay, no problem. That was response to audience presentation. Dr. Wood. Approval of, we have a motion for approval of the minutes from July 1, 2022. Okay, so moved in second. Any conversation or discussion? Seeing none. Would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Costick?
Aye.
Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Ross?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is information items, superintendent's update.
Thank you, President Ross. This will be very brief. Just a reminder to everyone regarding our conversation with our amazing teachers, that negotiations with our teachers are still ongoing. And tomorrow, a neutral mediator has been requested by our teachers to assist both parties in reaching an agreement. And so the board and district administration, we're all hopeful that a resolution will be reached that will benefit both the staff and the students of Peoria Public Schools. So tomorrow, there will be a meeting with a neutral mediator, and we're hopeful. It may take multiple meetings, but I just wanted to give the public an update and our staff an update as well.
Okay.
Thank you, President Ross.
Thank you. Okay, proposed expenditures over $2,500. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Willis? Seeing none. Report of request under the Freedom of Information Act and the status of such request.
Thank you, President Ross. Since our board meeting on August 8th, we've received 5 requests, and there were 2 pending on August 8th. Of those 2 pending, those 2 requests remain open, so there are 7 requests currently open. So we have received 36 requests for this calendar year. Thank you.
Thank you. Action, consent agenda. Vice President.
All right, thank you. Thank you, President Ross. All right, number 1 on the consent agenda, gifts to school district, year-to-date, $62,916.35. Donation valued at $250 by St. Vincent de Paul School for school uniforms for Elise Ford Allen Academy. Donation valued at $500 by M. Christine and Russell Jesse for Tree Win. Number 2, payments of bills. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resource report. And number 5, Richwoods Girls Swimming and Diving Overnight Trip. And that is all to the consent agenda.
Thank you. Are there any items that any board member would like to pull for a separate vote under the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any discussion on any one of these items? Thank you. Would you call the roll, please? Oh, I need a motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Been moved in second. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Costick? Aye. Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell? Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Ross?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Deliberation agenda. The amendment to board committees, policy number 2:150. Proposed action is that the Board of Education approve amendments to the board committees, policy number 2:150, to reflect changes, additions, and updates to the number and structure of committees. May I have a motion? Okay, any comments or clarification? Okay, see none. Would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Aye. Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell? Aye. Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Aye. Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Ross?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Presentation and suggestions by board members.
I have one. Thank you. Just kind of going off of what was earlier mentioned on the Lights on Peoria update, in reference to that food situation that you were talking about, looking for the guaranteed food from that. Peoria Public School Foundation is doing a drive right now to raise $10,000, and that is to fully restock the Little Free Pantries for the year. But that goes beyond that as well, and it goes to programs like Lights On and to other individuals and organizations within the district that need those food options. So I just wanted to put that out there, that they are doing that drive, and you can visit them on their website, or you can also visit them on Facebook and make donations that way. Thank you.
Other presentations, Dr. Rankin?
It's not a presentation, but just a question that I know Dr. Karat has the answer to. But could you just, for the public's knowledge, let them know when the buildings that aren't fully air-conditioned will be fully air-conditioned?
Thank you, Dr. Rankin. So there are 2 buildings, Charter Oak, Mr. Willis helped me out as well, Charter Oak and, is it Mark Bill's? Charter Oak and Mark Bill's. There are some common areas like the gym. We're still working on to get it air conditioned, so we'll use some of the final ESSA funds to ensure that those buildings are fully operational. And the timeline from Dave is completion 2023. So, you're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Suggestions from board members? Reports from board committees. There probably won't be any reports from board. You have a report from board committee?
I do. So the policy committee will meet. Have our first policy meeting with me and Mrs. Paris McConnell, September 15th at 5:30.
5:30 p.m.?
Yep.
Some people do get up early.
Yep, PM.
All right. Any other? I realize that we just got the information out on board committees with some instructions on how we should be including other people from the community in that. Anyone else have any things to talk about on their committees?
We will be expanding that committee, looking for a staff member and a parent to complete that committee to be, so that we will have 6 members as a total. So we will be looking for a staff member that is willing to join the Buildings and Ground Committee as well as a parent. Thank you.
That's including the current staff that
Including
already
the current,
staffed the
yeah.
committee. Okay, great. Great. Any other committees, committee reports? Okay. Thank you. Keep losing my place here. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you. We adjourn.